Welcome back, everyone. I got sick for a couple of weeks, and I have not been able to record, so I'm sorry we missed, I think we only missed 1 week of this, but I'm sorry we missed it. I'm better now. I'm a little behind, though. I'm actually recording this the night before it airs, so I'm not going to have as much time as usual, but I wanted to get us back into it. And again, once we finish this game, we're going to make a better process so that I can be further ahead on the RPGs. That way, if something happens, or I get sick, or if I just aren't able to record, we won't keep missing episodes. Last week we saved Numara. I don't know what we're doing this week. I'm just holding the controller. Looks like we're going to do some more kind of random cleanup this week. Maybe some story. It's going to depend on how long this takes us. I think we'll only have about 3 hours tonight, so I don't know what time it is when you're watching it, but all right. Cinnamon Family House. Okay. When the Arthosaurus attacked, they killed a bunch of people in what's now called the Ghost Town. One of my friends went back there to retrieve a family heirloom, but all he made out was a sea of flames mixed with sounds of beasts' footsteps. Thump, thump, thump. At that point, he figured his life was more precious than the heirloom, so he threw it somewhere and ran off. The way he put it, if he didn't do that, he wouldn't be here today. An old Ghost Town resident's family heirloom still remains buried there. Where is Ghost Town? Is that where we met the kids? It might be. What is it? Ah, those are just books. We checked those before. Okay. Okay, so we want to go over there. It's called a ghost town now, but it was just like ruins before, right? I'm curious as to who it killed, since it seemed like the kids in... What was our daughter's name? This is why I shouldn't take breaks from playing. I can't remember anything about this game anymore. But it seemed like they were the only ones living here, so... Bummer that a bunch of people got killed, but I'm not entirely sure where they were living when it happened. Other than literally under a rock. Which is actually what killed them, too. That was kind of insensitive. I'm a jerk. Okay. Yeah, because it was right here, wasn't it? The kind of stoned Arthroporus or whatever. Alright, let's see what we got here. Reversa. What is that? It's a level 7. Inflicts damage on one enemy based on the HP the user has lost. That's interesting. We'll have to keep that in mind. Really? Nothing in there? Okay, we need to go to the beach. God, it feels like it's been so long since we were here. I guess it's been, what, 3 months almost for me. It's another reason to get further ahead on videos. I start to just not remember everything I should. Where are we? Oh, okay. We need to find Pipbot. It says near the kids. I don't remember a Pipbot being over here. Oh, well, it's right here, though. So this is Liram's house. Hey, everybody, the kid's name was Liram. I remember now. Yep. Mom's, Dad's, Max, and my house. It's very nice. Liram must have been happy here. Yeah. And I guess we hadn't come back here since we've gotten Sarah. Alright. So now we have a fuzzy seed. Just doing a lot of seed trading all of a sudden. Usually if there's some kind of trade quest, it would start earlier than... What, we started that near the end of Disc 3? You'd think it'd be something that would have kind of gone through the whole game. I guess it's something to extend the late game stuff. If you look back at something like Final Fantasy VII, the entirety of Disc 3 is nothing but like the last story dungeon and final boss, and then just all the side content in the game. It's kind of crazy how little story content actually exists on Disc 3 of... Or at least main storyline, I should say. Not fair to say. Because plenty of side content is important to storylines. And some of it's just garbage. So we're going back to the Grand Staff construction base again. We're gonna trade our seed, and then we're going right back to Numara. Okay. We have to trust that this was the most efficient way to do things, I guess. We have to trust. This is why we won't be using a walkthrough all the time, but I really wanted to make sure we were able to see everything. Alright, so... we give it the fuzzy seed. Now we have a rough seed. Didn't we just get rid of a tough seed? What is the difference between a... well, I guess tough is durability and rough is texture, maybe? Must be. Oh, I feel like tough is a synonym for something with a rough texture as well. Okay. We're going to the city of Numara, not the port this time. It's not bad for loading on the 360. I guess it is using the SS speed to load, not the... Oh. Welcome back, my queen. Queen Ming is back. Pretty popular, aren't you? Why don't you say something to them? I apologize for being away so long. I'm glad to see all of you well. Well, I'm glad to see you too, Queen. Still so beautiful and so strong. They seem a lot less concerned with the giant dinosaurs that just attacked than the people on Canal Street were. I knew we could trust Queen Ming to defeat that Arthrosaurus. Numara is saved, and it's all thanks to you. Thank you so much, Queen Ming. I'm so happy our queen is back. Hopefully you'll put General Kakanis in his place. Now that guy's still running around? Kakanis, huh? Guess your absence must have turned him loose. Well, now what, Ming? Are you going to go back to the palace? Kakanis may have some kind of trap set up for you. No, I'll be all right. I have an important task to take care of. I don't know what that task is, but I don't think we're doing it just yet. Alright, we want to go to the inn. We don't have any music cubes to turn in, thank God, because that's just boring as sin. And what do we want to do here? We want to speak with Raki. Are you Raki? Raki? Bored Raki. It's amazing the progress that Numara's made. My family and I lived in this city 30 years ago when the Arthrosaurus appeared. I was still a child then, but I remember how helpless I felt watching the town burn to the ground. So that answers the question of how long Ming's had her memory erased, too. 30 years. The woman next door was wandering around the square looking for the dowry she had lost. She never found it. In the end, we were all taken out of town by some family friends. You never know. That lady's dowry may still be in the square, whatever that is. Wherever that is. Something was lost in the chaos near Numara's Fountain Square. Looks like Ced can fix something. Sarp hasn't been played in a long time. No one's turned it on since either. It'd be nice if someone could do that for me. How's it look, Sed? Think you can fix it? Don't expect too much from me, Mama. Anyway, I'll try looking at it. Maybe I can do something about this. Sed can fix anything. Why is he being so humble? Sounds just as it did before. Listen, everyone. These people fixed the harp for us. Let's give them something for their trouble. 19 Cape of Illusions. Yeah, at some point we're going to fix something and get a reward I actually care about. But today is not that day. Okay, let's see what this treasure is. Can't believe nobody's found it sitting right here after all this time. Refresh us. Is that a healing spell? Greatly recovers the HP of a row of party members. Okay. So its casting time is 2F versus Zephyra, which is 2B. So Zephyra is faster. And then what is Generata? 2E. I think that's better. And to be perfectly honest, I don't understand how much longer one letter matters. I know the 2 is 2 turns. I think. Somebody smarter, email me and let me know. Go east to Main Street. This way? There are 2 easts. Pretty sure this is Main Street, though. Go into Nina's boutique. What do you want me to do here? Oh. Why couldn't we have done this before? Was there something blocking here? I don't remember well enough. Ah, what are you doing? I have extremely valuable merchandise over there. Valuable? You mean this? That? No, I mean, that, well, you could say that's just a memo. I'm afraid it wouldn't mean much to anyone besides me. It says something about some business deals with the Numaran military. Lots of money, it seems. You made quite a profit, didn't you? Oh no, really, I took a loss on the whole affair. The Queen was against expanding the military budget, so General Kakanis asked me to help him. Under the table. He demanded huge discounts in exchange for his tacit approval of my business. Damn, didn't let anything stop him, did he? General said he managed to keep all the military upgrades within budget, including the arming of the White Boa. But oh, please forgive me, Your Majesty. I know the sales of weapons and armor is strictly prohibited under your peace policy. Of course, I'd never sell arms to anyone suspicious. I'm in full agreement with Her Majesty's policies. Absolutely. Pretty sure we bought shit from him, and we're suspicious as hell. I only sell to people who appreciate these weapons as art, or to those who have a pressing need for it. Defined pressing need. Why not just let it go? With a total ban like that, it's only natural you'd have things like that, what Kakanis was doing. I have no time to pore over policy details right now. Therefore, I shall leave this particular affair for another time. However, if you have any further illegal dealings with the military, I will make your case a personal priority. Do you understand? Oh, of course. Thank you, Your Majesty. Please accept this as a symbol of my remorse. Alright, well, the items were lackluster, but I actually found that interesting dialogue. Add some more to the main character. Oh, everybody get ready. We only have 3 more left. And this is gonna be one of them. It is time for a dream. Maybe Let's go. Okay, here we go. God, my mom's so slow. She really ought to stay home and take care of the housework instead. She's getting too old for this. Well, sorry. Oh no, you need to apologize for that. All right. Return of the Native. The mother stands by the island pier, waiting for her son. Her luggage is bigger than she is. Dressed in her finest traveling clothes, she seems hardly able to contain her excitement as she speaks to Kime, who happens to be waiting for the same boat to arrive. I got a letter from him, she says. Almost 30 years have passed since her only son left the island of his birth. There was no word from him in all that time until he recently wrote announcing his successes and his plan to bring her to the mainland. I've been alone ever since I lost my husband, so just think I might be able to spend the rest of my life with my son, his wife, and my grandchildren. She sold the house she had always lived in and has been waiting for her son to come for her. The letter arrived over a week ago. I wonder why it's taking him so long. The seas are calm. Kime arrived here on yesterday's ferry. You mean he's late? Kime asks with some surprise. Very, she replies, forcing a smile. I wonder what's wrong. Maybe he got busy all of a sudden and can't pull himself away from his work. He hasn't written again to explain? He's never bothered with things like that, not since he was a child, she says, straining to smile again and glancing toward the horizon. No bigger than a dot at first, the boat is now big enough for a clear view of the mast and silhouette. Anyhow, I'm not worried. I know he'll be on this boat, she says, raising herself from the dockside crate on which she is sitting and waving a handkerchief towards the approaching vessel. Kime also stares hard at the boat, which gives his eyes a stern expression. Young man? At the sound of the mother's voice, Kime hastens to soften his gaze before turning toward her. You're a traveler, aren't you? That's right, he says. I saw you arrive on yesterday's ferry. Are you leaving so soon? She's obviously curious about this stranger, but her face shows no wariness towards outsiders. Relieved to see this, Kime replies. I'm doing the same thing you are, waiting for someone to arrive. On this boat? Yes, probably. You haven't been in touch with this person? No, we haven't agreed on a time. I might be waiting for nothing too. Oh, really? Kime evades further questions with a strained smile. This is not something he can discuss with just anyone. He is on a secret mission, one that must not fail. The woman still wears a look of puzzlement, but their conversation is swallowed up by the general hubbub on shore, accompanying the approaching of the boat. At last, the ferry arrives. One by one, the passengers alight. Alight? I don't know this word either. One by one, the passengers alight after their half-day trip from the capital on the mainland. Clutching the handkerchief to her breast, the mother scans each of them. There are peddlers who travel from island to island hawking their wares, and men who have come to do large-scale trading. Sunburned young men and women who arrive from the mainland in groups to work on the island's farms, and men coming home to the island after a season of labor on the mainland. None of the dozens of passengers, however, is the woman's son. Once it has disgorged... I don't know any of these words. Once it has disgorged its island-bound passengers, the ferry takes on people crossing to the mainland. Greeters on the pier give way to well-wishers. The mother turns her back on the pier's hustle and bustle and plods her way toward the town. She hoists a heavy pack onto her back and lifts a large suitcase in each hand. But she has taken only a few steps when the pack begins to slide off. Kime reaches out to keep it from falling. The woman turns with a look of surprise, and when she realizes that Kime is alone, she asks, So your person didn't come either? Looks that way. With only one ferry a day from the mainland, all they can do is wait until tomorrow. Are you going to stay on the island until your friend comes? I might have to. You could run up quite a hotel bill that way. I'm all right. I'm used to camping out. Camping out? She exclaims with a look of amazement. Then she smiles and says, Oh well, you're young and in good condition. A few days sleeping outdoors shouldn't be hard on you. Where's she living? Didn't she sell her house? What are you going to do, ma'am? Go back home? I wish I could. I sold my house last week. I was so sure my son would come get me right away. A hint of discouragement clouds her face, but she quickly recovers her smile and continues. The money I got for the house is a nice little bundle, so I've decided to spend freely for a change. See that large hotel over there? I'm staying in their biggest room and taking it easy all day and night, too. I'm disappointed when he doesn't show up, of course, but I've worked my fingers to the bone all these years. It won't hurt for me to indulge myself just this little bit. Though delivered with a smile, her words touch Kime deeply. In her case, worked my fingers to the bone is not just a figure of speech, as evidenced by her sun-tanned face, which is so unsuited to the cosmetics she's applied to greet her son, and especially by her bony fingers, so ill-concealed by the cheap rings she is wearing. Hard as she undoubtedly works, life has granted her few rewards. There is nothing expensive about her luggage. I'm sure your son will be here tomorrow, Kime says. Her deeply wrinkled face breaks into a joyous smile. Yes, of course. Tomorrow for sure, she says with a deep nod. I hope the person you are waiting for comes on tomorrow's boat too. Thank you very much, he replies. I have an idea, she says. You might get sick of camping out. If you'd like, why not stay in my hotel? I'm sure we could arrange something for one extra person. Kime senses that she is not suggesting this out of mere politeness, which is precisely why he demurs with a smile and a nod. Thanks just the same, he says. But don't worry about me. Just take the rest you deserve after all your long years of hard work. If you say so. She seems somewhat disappointed but does not press him to accept. As she watches her trudge off towards her hotel alone, all but hidden from view by her huge bundles, Kime wonders if, perhaps, she was hoping that his company might ease her concern that her son might not show up after all. Even so, he decides not to chase after her and retract his refusal. He is the wrong man to spend time with a mother whose only dream is to have a happy old age. Most likely, when tomorrow's boat arrives, she will finally be reunited with the son she has longed to see all these years. The person that Kime is waiting for will almost certainly cross over to the island tomorrow. The mother will undoubtedly shed great tears when her reunion takes place. Kime, on the other hand, has a bloody job to perform when he encounters the man he's waiting for. Anybody else think they know where this is going all of a sudden? Kime has been hunting him. The man is a fugitive and there is a reward on his head. He is known as the boss of an underworld gang in the capital, and he has committed crimes without number. Robbery, fraud, extortion, assault, and even murder. To cap his life of crime, he double-crossed his own gang and ran off with a great deal of money. Word reached the gang only a few days ago that the man is headed for this island, the place of his birth, and they hired Kime to take care of him. The fact that they hired Kime means they are ready to have him killed on sight. Kime and the mother meet at the dock again the next day at the same time, and again the next day, the next, and the day after that. The ones they are waiting for never come. A week goes by. The mother switches accommodations from her expensive hotel to a cheap inn frequented by traveling peddlers. Actually, I'm more comfortable in cheap places like this, she tells Kime with a laugh, but more than likely her money would have run out in the first hotel. Your person is very late too, she observes. True. Who is it? He sidesteps the issue with a strained smile. He cannot answer her question if he is going to carry out his duty. And besides, he feels a tiny premonition deep inside. The mother stops questioning him and says, I hope your person comes soon. Another 3 days go by. A messenger from the gang, disguised as a peddler, whispers to Kime after he steps off the ferry. We think he's still hiding in the capital. We're looking in every rat hole we can find, but there's no sign of him. Kime nods silently and glances at the boat. Even after the last passenger alights, the mother stands on the pier looking up at the boat's empty deck. Let me ask you, young man, the mother says to Kime 3 days after. Does the place where you're camping out have a roof to keep the dew off? Kime has been sleeping in a dilapidated old house he found near the harbor. All I need is a place to sleep, she says. Would you mind if I joined you there? What's that? The place I'm staying now is not much better than a ruin. I'm sure I'd be fine wherever you're staying. Yes, I'm sure I'd be fine. She smiles like a child who has found a new source of mischief. Kime does not refuse her. More precisely, he cannot refuse her. She has probably run out of money even to stay in her current flophouse. Kime has noticed her cheap rings gradually disappearing from her bony fingers. As they pass the night in the abandoned building, the moon their only source of light, the mother, without prompting from Kime, spills out her memories of her son. They are by no means pleasant memories. Known as a roughneck even from his earliest years, the boy was hated by all the neighbors and caused his parents a good deal of shame. He would steal our money, stay out all night partying, and before we knew it, he was a #1 thug on the island. He was always getting into fights and bothering girls. During the island's annual festival, he would go wild and destroy property, so my husband and I would have to go around apologizing to everyone. The father, a skilled stonemason, lost his job when the son stole valuables from the boss's house. The mother could hardly walk down the street without being subjected to the glares and finger-pointing of the neighbors. Things got especially bad after her son set fire to the island assembly hall just for fun. His parents raised him badly. The boy's misbehavior is the parents' responsibility. The son has become such a thug because his mother spoiled him rotten. It's the parents' fault, the father's fault, the mother's fault, your fault. They had heard it all. It was so hard for us on a little island like this. There was no place we could hide. The boy was 18 when he finally ran away from home. I did not hit a button. But still, to a mother, any son the baby she once carried, I'd never heard a word from him. Okay, I don't know why that one skipped so quickly. But I went on praying that he would stay healthy in the capital and that he wouldn't catch whatever epidemic was going around, that he wouldn't get into fights, but that's just me, I guess. She gives Kime a bitter smile. Or maybe that's just me being a mother, she adds. Maybe there's time to pause and see what that last page says. I'm hoping it wasn't super important. I don't know why that one just skipped forward like that. I'm sorry. You have parents too, I suppose. Of course you do. Everyone has parents. True. Are your father and mother alive and well? Kime bows his head in silence. On a journey with no clear beginning and no definable end, Kime is unable to answer a question like this. Instead, he asks the woman, what is the first thing you'll say when you finally get to meet your son? Good question, says the mother. After thinking it over a few moments, she replies, I won't actually say anything. I think I'll just hug him and say nothing at all. I'll hold him tight and let him know how glad I am that he is alive and well. Just supposing, though. Kime presses her gently. If you knew that he had lived a less than exemplary life in the capital, too, would you still give him a hug? Her response is instantaneous. First I'd hug him, and then I'd give him a good talking to. She smiles shyly at Kym and adds, "That's what being a parent is all about." The next morning, she runs a high fever. She may have survived the dew, but a night in the dilapidated building has taken a toll on the old woman's health. Even so, when it is time for the ferry arrives, she struggles to her feet and heads toward the pier with uncertain steps. Alarmed, Kym holds her back. "You're in no shape to be going out," he says. Despite his attempts to bring down her fever with cool spring water from the forest, it is as high as ever. Her labored breathing has taken on a congested rumbling. "I have to go," she insists. "My son is coming for me. I'm going to see him." She sweeps away Kym's restraining hand, but the effort causes her to lose her balance and sink to her knees. "If he's on board, I'll bring him here," Kym assures her. "Tell me how I can recognize him." Cradled in Kym's arms, half delirious with fever, the old woman mutters, "On his left cheek, before he left the island, he got in a fight. Somebody cut him. He has a scar." Kym nods and lowers the old woman to a straw mat spread on the ground. He fights back a sigh and closes his eyes momentarily, then he stares hard through a small window at the ferry dock. His suspicions were right after all, though he was sure of it last night. Kym was given a written description of the man when he took on the assignment from the gang. There could be no doubt. Scar on left cheek. This is not a huge written description, I'm just saying. There's a lot of room for mistake there. The ferry is approaching the harbor. The pier is showing signs of activity. Kym starts for the door. Behind him, he hears the woman saying, "Please, don't kill him. Don't kill my boy." Kym stops short, but instead of turning around, he bites his lip. "I don't know what he did in the capital, but don't kill him, please." She knows too. She knows everything. "If you have to kill him, if you absolutely have to, please, before you do it, let me just..." Kym leaves the ruin in silence. His steps are uncertain as he makes his way in the blinding glare of the afternoon sun. This time the man is there. Trying to lose himself among the traveling peddlers, the man with the price on his head. Why does this keep skipping ahead? His eyes dart fearfully over the pier. His expression changes from that of a man searching for someone to the panicked look of a child who has become separated from his parent. Kym slowly plants himself in front of him. The man knows nothing of Kym's mission, of course, and has never met him before. But he has the instincts of an inhabitant of the back alleys. His face freezes and he turns to flee. Kym grabs him by the shoulder, but lightly, in a way that would make an onlooker think he was witnessing the joyful reunion of old friends. The man tries to shake off the hand to no avail. It would be easy enough for Kym to kill him on the spot. His eyes show that he has no strength left to fight. Kym has far more experience than the man does at surviving potentially fatal encounters. The man knows this. "If you're going to kill me, get it over with," he snarls. "But if you've got a trace of kindness in you, you'll give me one last chance to do something good for my mother. It won't take long, just let me see her. Once. Then you can do whatever you like with me." Kym lets his hand drop from the man's shoulder. He's not going to run away. "So, I didn't make it after all," he says with a forced smile. His face tells Kym that he has probably resigned himself to his fate. It suggests, too, an air of relief at having finally brought his life as a fugitive to an end. "How many men have you killed?" he asks Kym. "I don't have to answer that. And I don't really want you to tell me. It's just that, well, looking at you, I'd say that I'm older than you are. And there are some things a person comes to realize when he's lived a long time." Think about the guys you've killed. Every single one of them had parents. Killing a person means killing somebody's child, right? When that finally dawned on me, I left the gang. Gangs don't pay retirement bonuses, so I sort of borrowed a little money from them, and I thought I'd use it to... Well, I've given my mother a hard time all these years. His voice grows thick and muffled. He shakes off the emotion and proclaims with a laugh, "Ah, what the hell. That's a lot of sentimental nonsense. I don't know how many guys I've killed over the years, so I figure I'm getting what I deserve. I can't hate you for what you're doing." A shout comes from the ferry deck. "We'll be departing shortly. All passengers bound for the capital should be boarding now." Chaim looks hard at the man and says, "Just tell me one thing." The man says nothing in reply, but Chaim continues, "What's the first thing you're going to do when you see your mother?" "Huh? What are you talking about?" "Never mind, just answer the question." "I'll say, I'm back." "No, I won't say anything. I'll just take her in my arms. That's all." "Give her a big hug?" "Sure. That's what parents and children are all about." Chaim relaxes the grim expression on his face and jerks his chin towards the forest beyond the pier. "There's an old, broken-down house in the woods. Your mother's waiting for you there. Go to her." "What are you talking about?" "Don't ever come back to the capital, and don't stay on this island. Take another ferry and go away to some other island with your mother." The man looks stunned. "You... I mean..." His voice is trembling. Chaim says nothing more. He leaves the man behind and strides towards the boat before it can depart. Mission accomplished. Chaim does not care if, in return for this deed, he is labeled a traitor to be pursued by the gang. The image of his own parents praying for their son's welfare has long since faded from his memory. "Pulling out, please hurry," comes cries of the ferry's crew. A big gong is ringing, startled by the sounds reverberating between the vast stretch of ocean and open sky. Brightly colored birds dart up from the forest. Large birds and small birds. Parents and their young. The larger birds seem almost to be shielding the smaller ones beneath their slowly beating, outstretched wings. I liked that story. I didn't know how it was going to end. I'm really annoyed that this is the one that had screens just skipping on their own. I really, really enjoyed that. And good news, we get to do another one immediately. Yeah, we continue on to Canal Street. It looks like we're just gonna run north for a while. Or to the side. Let's get a save in after that, just in case. Never had a crash on the Xbox, but the fact that I just said I've never had a crash on the Xbox probably guarantees we're gonna have a crash on the Xbox, so. Better safe than sorry. All right, here we go. Hey, you can't just take that. Hey, come back here. Make me. Bear? He gets me every time. I'm gonna teach him a lesson one of these days. Lottery of Life. Last story I read called The Lottery was not great. Having kids is like playing the lottery. That was how the police commissioner put it, with a grim smile and a sigh. He was the man in charge of domestic security. Sometimes you pick a winner, and sometimes you pick a loser. Life is like that, you can't control it. Kime responded with a silent nod. Not that he was convinced that you could divide people into winners and losers, but that was how they did it here in this country that was the size of a city. He had no choice but to recognize it was reality, because the man who kept the peace here believed it. And this nation was known for having the best public safety in all the countries in the region. Every kid in there is a loser, he spat out, jerking his chin towards the juvenile prison visible from his office window. Built to hold young criminals, this was the largest and the most strictly run and the most closely guarded prison to be seen in any of the neighboring countries. Its treatments of its young inmates was also the harshest. You're a foreigner, Kime, so you may not approve, but we have our own way of doing things. I see, Kime said. Losers are losers. There's nothing you can do to make losers into winners. It's never going to happen. Far from it. If you coddle losers, they just turn into bigger losers and give the decent people a lot of trouble. See what I mean? That's one way of looking at things. Kime's deliberate irony was lost on the police commissioner. No, it's the only way. If you're going to have a safe, peaceful country, he declared, and we'll expect you to abide by this view too. Kime had nothing more to say to him. If he were to insist on confronting the police commissioner, he might be seen as questioning the authorities, which could land him in the adults' prison. This would be easy enough to bring about for the police commissioner, and indeed for anyone in the city-state who stood on the side of the powers that be. The commissioner glanced again toward the juvenile prison. They built that place 80 years ago, he said, which is to say, the very first building that made when the present political system came into being was a prison to throw young offenders into. Oh yeah, that seems like a great idea. Kime knew this. For Kime, whose life went on forever, events of 80 years before could well have happened yesterday. 80 years earlier, this country had experienced a coup d'etat. The revolutionary government ruled the people under a military dictatorship and jailed every last person suspected of disturbing the peace and order. The government was especially wary of younger criminals. Well, yeah, because they don't want to get overthrown too. There's a limit to how serious a kid's crimes can be. But let them get away with those, and the next thing you know, they're doing really bad stuff. They might be satisfied with shoplifting at first, but soon they're into burglary, muggings, they start using weapons, and in the end they think nothing of killing people. You have to nip them in the bud. The kids sent to prison were fed the absolute minimum to keep them alive. No doctor saw them if they fell sick or were injured. Subjected to such harsh imprisonment, they succumbed one after another, and more than a few of them ended up as cold corpses pitched out the back door. Whenever one did manage to serve out his term and return to the outside world, he found it impossible to erase the brand of loser. Children with criminal records were soundly rejected by respectable society. The social system was structured in such a way that nothing worked for them. Employment, marriage, even finding a place to live. Expelled by society, these boys and girls returned to crime as a way to stay alive, eventually ending up in adult prison. With a bitter smile, the police commissioner said to Kime, "I'm sure this all sounds terrible to an outsider like you." Kime answered with a slight nod. This only served to increase the bitterness of the commissioner's smile. "I know what you're thinking," he said, "and to tell you the truth, I sometimes think the system is a little too harsh on them too. But if you have to realize that we're not just punishing bad kids, we're also holding them up as an example to the good ones. What would they think if they saw the ex-criminals out on the street again, walking along like nothing ever happened? They'd figure that even if they got their hands dirty and spent a few years in jail, they could just go back to their old lives. That society's punishment is no big deal. That they can get away with murder. We wouldn't want our kids to be like that, would we? So the only thing is for us grown-ups to teach them. Look at those guys, we can say. All it takes is one bad deed and your life is over. So you'd better listen to your parents and teachers and be good. What happens if the parents and teachers are criminals? The system feels flawed. He definitely had a point. Time was willing to grant him that. But still, the commissioner must have noticed a hint of shadow crossing Kime's face, and he shifted his tone of voice. With bureaucratic conviction, he declared, "The authorities have received word that there is going to be a coup. Of course, the military have everything under control, so there is nothing to worry about. They could suppress it right now if they wanted to. They could easily attack the agitators and capture the ringleaders of the plot. In this case, though, they have decided to let it get started in order to smoke out every last one of the reactionary elements." According to the government's intelligence, the uprising was scheduled to occur that very night. We are prepared for just about any eventuality, but there's always the possibility of the unexpected. If there were a riot inside the juvenile prison timed to coincide with the rebellion, that could be a real problem. This is why Kime had been hired as a temporary prison guard, a bodyguard for the state. I wondered why Kime was talking to this guy. We're counting on your skills as a seasoned warrior, which is why we're entrusting you with such a major responsibility. Be sure you live up to our expectations. If you have to resort to violence, we have no problem with that. Whatever you do, it will be for the sake of law and order. It will be in order to protect the happy lives of the decent citizens of our nation. Carry out your duties with complete dedication of body and soul. The commissioner handed Kime a one-page document. It was literally a license to kill. 00 Infinity? Act without the slightest restraint. All the prison guards have one of these. But still, if you hesitate to impose the ultimate punishment on a single loser, then countless winners among the upstanding citizens may suffer the consequences. You understand, I'm sure. Once a loser, always a loser. Rather than living with such a burden, they themselves might be happier to have you kill them and get it over with. Kime accepted the document from the commissioner without comment. That completes our contractual arrangement. Now assume your post. With a perfectly straight face, the commissioner cautioned Kime. Just make sure you don't let any foolish compassion get in your way. The season was midwinter, but Kime found no hint of fire burning in the juvenile prison. In their tiny solitary cells, the young inmates, wrapped in ragged blankets, lay helpless in the dark. Painful moaning came from one cell, suggesting its inmate might be running a fever. From another came an unbroken, shrill, mean laughter that could only mean the prisoner's mind had snapped. Was this Arkham? What you see is what you get, said the veteran guard, guiding Kime on his first round of inspection. Not one of these faces shows any life. So even if something were to happen when these pitiful creatures couldn't do a damn thing, they're losers, all right. They're breathing, but that's about it. Is there really no possibility of them being rehabilitated and becoming winners? The other guard gave Kime a momentary blank stare and then said with a laugh and a wave, No, none at all. 80 years since the revolution, the change of generations had replaced virtually all the people from that time. Since coming of age, this prison guard, who had no memory of life before the revolution, had been implanted with the idea that people were either winners or losers, and he surely never doubted it. They went out of their way to hire you, so it might be a little strange for me to say this, but I'm sure the kids in here are never going to riot, no matter how wild things get on the outside. Splash a little cold water on them, and they'll quiet right down. There's almost none of them you have to worry about. Almost? Well, I can't claim that about every single one of them. There are even losers among the losers, unfortunately. The guard showed Kime to the end of the hall, and there he opened a lock on a door so thick it could be mistaken for a section of wall. Beyond here are the punishment cells. This is where we throw the incorrigible losers, the ones who have caused trouble on work details, the ones who take a defiant attitude, the ones who show no sign of remorse for their crimes. Suddenly it was clear to Kime. It was clear to him because he had experienced countless battlefields in his life. The punishment cells were darker and far colder than the regular cells, but from the depths of the darkness, from within each individual cell, there emanated a quiet heat that could not be felt from the regular cells. The people in here were alive. They were not simply breathing, they were alive with real passion. The crimes that originally got them locked up here were nothing much. A little burglary, some purse snatching, flashing a knife, stuff like that. If they had just quietly served out their terms, they'd be out now, living obscure lives somewhere. Instead, they resisted, and kept resisting. They called for better treatment of inmates. They appealed for an end to discrimination against former prisoners. The number of their crimes multiplied until it became clear they would never get out of here alive. They'll just go straight from here to the adult prison when they grow up. It'll be 20 or 30 years before they can breathe the outside air again, if they can live that long, which would be quite an accomplishment. The guard concluded with a belly-shaking laugh, which was interrupted by a voice echoing from the dark cell. Stop that laughing. It was a quiet but commanding voice, though one that retained a hint of boyishness. A look of fear crossed the guard's face, though he quickly reverted to a sneer. This is the biggest pain we've got, he said. His name is Deeren. Duran? We're going to say Deeren. They say he was the leader of a gang of juvenile delinquents on the outside, but here he's just a noisemaker. The guard picked up a bucket of water from a corridor floor with a thin sheet of ice on its surface and heaved the contents into Deeren's cell. This is what works best on these kids. Behind the bars, the drenched boy had rolled himself up in a ball. This should be enough for them to freeze to death. But the water itself freezes again in the early morning. So then their hair and eyelashes, and any other hair they've got, gets coated in ice. Some of them have lost fingers and toes to frostbite. The guard laughed again. Deeren lay there curled up, but his eyes were shining with such intensity. It was as if he were trying to melt ice with the heat seething in his breast. Time knew those eyes. They were the eyes of a warrior. And not just any warrior, but one on the very front line in a losing battle who watches for a chance to turn the battle in his favor. And Kime knew something else, that the system was beginning to unravel. It had kept the people in a state of suppression for 80 long years, ever since the revolution, but the very moment of its undoing had arrived. The prison fire started that night. Kime, it's the coup! The guards came running to report the situation on the outside. Fires have been set throughout the city, he said. This was, of course, the uprising that government intelligence had anticipated. Martial law was declared and the government was mobilized, the entire police force and army. Word had come, too, that the ringleaders were already under arrest. One element, however, had been wholly unanticipated. The guard informed him, "The wind is strong tonight." Fanned by unseasonable winds, the flames were racing through the city. On orders from the commissioner, we are not to fight fires in the juvenile prison. Is that clear? Do not engage in firefighting here. In other words, no one would be coming to save the inmates. It can't be helped, said the guard. The army and the fire department have all they can do to put out fires in the city and evacuate the people. They can't spare any men to protect this place, and we've been ordered to join the rescue efforts in town. I guess that means that we let the kids out. This was a given, Kime assumed. Left locked up in their cells, the young inmates would burn to death. Don't be ridiculous, the guard shot back. These kids are all losers. We've gone to the trouble of locking them in here, and now we're supposed to let them out? Are you serious? Kime replied. Are you serious? I can't believe you'd say anything so stupid. I'm telling you, they're losers. We don't have time to save them, and we're certainly not going to let them run loose. The commissioner would never allow such a thing. If Kyle lets these kids out and they end up fighting the fire, I'm going to be pissed. He obviously meant every word he was saying. They were planning to let them die. The flames were spreading quickly, and screams could be heard throughout the prison. There was no time to appeal directly to the commissioner, and such an appeal would only end in failure, he was sure. "Give me the cell keys," Kime said. "You're joking," the guard laughed. There was only one thing to do. Without a word, Kime landed a punch in the guard's solar plexus. The guard went down in a heap, and Kime tore the clump of keys from his belt. The first cell he opened was Deeran's. The boy came out, looking confused. "Are you one of us?" he asked Kime. "Are you with the coup?" "Not interested," he answered. "So why are you letting us go?" Deeran asked. "Because I don't like dividing people up into winners and losers." "Thanks," Deeran said. Sporting a big grin, he took the keys from Kime and turned away to start opening the other cells. "I want you to come back," Kime said to him from behind. "What's that?" "This is an emergency evacuation. When the sun comes up and the fires are out, I want you to come back here. You kids still haven't finished paying for your crimes." "You must be kidding." "Not at all," Kime said. "If you kids run away, that'll just prove they're right. Once a loser, always a loser. Is that all right with you? Don't you want to show the ones who rule the country that they're wrong? That people can change? But we'll never get another chance like this. The coup is going to fail. You can run around all you want, but they're going to catch you in the end. You'll always be branded losers. They might even kill you when they catch you." Deeran turned to stare at Kime. The prison was already surrounded by flames. Against this bright red backdrop, Deeran's eyes still burned with the fighting spirit of a warrior. This country's political system can't last much longer. The day will come when you kids can leave the prison with your heads held high. I absolutely believe that. And because I believe it, I don't want to see you die for nothing. Kime turned from Deeran to pull the guard up from the floor. "Come back after sunrise." With this final admonition to Deeran, Kime hoisted the guard onto his back and trudged away. These events occurred 50 years ago. An air of freedom pervades the country now when Kime visits 50 years later. True, he does catch glimpses of young toughs and juvenile delinquents where the nightlife thrives, but he feels this is just a sign of free and easy times. An old man calls out to him, "Are you a traveler?" When Kime nods, the man says with a smile, "You're in luck. We're having a celebration in Revolution Square today. I hear the grand old man of the revolution is going to attend. It'll keep going all night long." "A celebration?" "That's right. I see you're too young to know what happened here in the old days. We had a coup 50 years ago on this very day. The coup itself was put down in one night, but the rebel troops set fires all along the city, so the rest of us were running around like crazy in all directions. Fanned by the wind, the flames quickly enveloped the whole city, and a lot of the city people were stranded on a sandbar downwind. I was one of them. I had my pregnant wife and baby daughter with me, so I couldn't just dive into the river to escape. Before we knew it, sparks were raining down on the sandbar, and I figured we were done for. We'd all burn to death as soon as the dry grass caught fire." Just as he was giving up hope, he says, a helping hand was extended to them from the most unlikely source. The kids from the juvenile prison came to help us. They were all skin and bones, and their prison uniforms were falling apart. The prison staff hardly fed them a thing, but they pulled what little strength they had. They saved old folks and children from the sandbar, and they struggled to douse the fires that caught in the dry grass. I saw one boy carry a child across the river and collapse and die the second after he reached the other shore. and some of the ones who were fighting grass fires were overcome by the smoke and burned to death. They risked their lives to save us. Their own lives were not worth living, but those losers risked their lives to save the lives of winners like us. When the sun came up and they could be sure that the fires were safely out, the young inmates went back to the juvenile prison. Yes, it's true. The place was an absolute hell for them, but they went back inside just the same. Not one of them took advantage of the confusion to run away. They played it strictly by the rules, wouldn't you say? We were really moved by their behavior. And people started saying that maybe these losers had their good points after all. Maybe once a loser, always a loser was wrong. The whispers spread throughout the country quietly but surely. Soon the view emerged that the treatment of juvenile prisoner inmates should be improved. Another increasingly wide-held view was that society ought to welcome ex-inmates more welcomely once they had paid for their crimes. Finally, the change in attitude toward loser children took the shape of dissatisfaction with the political system that had continued to foster such a dictatorship, and 40 years ago, a second coup occurred. This next coup took the shape of a citizens' revolution that involved the masses, and for that reason it succeeded. That's how the form of government we have today got its start. Listening to the old man's reminiscences, Time finds himself smiling and nodding again and again, deeply moved. The last thing the old man tells him is the name of the hero who led the revolution and became the first president of the new government. Darren. Tens of thousands of people have gathered in the Revolution Square as fireworks are sent aloft as the brass band plays the rousing national anthem. The grand old man of the revolution takes to the stage amid thunderous cheers and applause. Darren! Darren! Our Darren! Advanced in years now and having long since removed himself from the center of politics, Darren still has that youthful, fiery gleam in his eyes. There is no way for him to spot Kime amongst the assembled throng, and even if he were to notice him, he could never imagine that this young man, unchanged from 50 years ago, was the temporary prison guard on that fateful night. Still, the old hero proclaims, "People can change. There are no winners or losers." His words are greeted with cheers and fireworks, and the excitement of the celebration reaches its peak. Kai makes his way to stand at the far end of the square and buys himself a cup of liquor. He raises his cup to the hero of the revolution, who, from this distant vantage point, appears to him no larger than a speck. He downs the drink in a single breath. When the intensely strong liquor has passed his throat, it leaves a sweet and mellow aftertaste. Yeah, I got all sorts of feelings about that one. I don't think self-sacrifice is the right thing to do when people treat you like shit for that long. Being the better person doesn't mean you should have to, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that one or I'm going to get angry. So we're just going to keep going. It was a good story, at least. All right, we got kids to talk to. Have you ever heard of a kingdom full of barbarians that existed long ago out east? They hid this extravagant treasure deep inside a temple, said to be protected by a cursed mask sitting on top, ready to strike at anyone looking to steal the treasure. Pretty cool, no? I'd love to see it for myself at least once in my life. My brother knows so much about everything, but he only tells me some of his stories. Alright. Inside the Temple of Enlightenment? I don't think we've been there, have we? I know I've forgotten stuff, but... Alright. So I think we get to move on with the story for at least a little bit here. looks like we're gonna go towards the castle? Manor? I don't know. What the hell do we call that thing? The Sydney Opera House? It's what it reminds me of. Let's go find out. Oh, God, those were 2 long stories back to back, too. They were good, though. We only have 1 story left. And then however long the rest of the game takes us, we'll actually just be playing game. Kind of feels weird to just have the 1 left now. It's been such a big part of this journey. Hello? I don't know if my camera is recording. We're gonna save and I'm gonna restart my recordings real quick. Hi, I'm back. Or I guess I'm here for the first time. It looks like audio was fine, but my camera froze about 10 minutes into recording. I'm really hoping the audio is fine. I listened to the recording and everything seemed fine there. So you won't have seen me. I was trying to record. Now you know why I'm constantly looking one direction. Sometimes it's to look at the walkthrough, but often it's to make sure everything's recording properly. And I wasn't doing that today because of the stories. I was so focused on them that, yeah, we don't have face cam for the first part of this video. I don't know why it stopped working, and I'm a little concerned. So I think what we're gonna do is, we have a boss fight and the last story of the game coming up right now. We're gonna get that done, and then the minute we can save, we're just gonna stop for today. So it will mean an even kind of shorter episode, but now I'm worried about my recording, and I want to try and figure out what's going on there. So I don't want to end just as randomly as saving there. And again, the good news is we had audio, so if worse comes to worse, we'll just lose the face again. But we're just gonna kind of do this last little bit and then wrap up. Might be more than a little bit. I mean, we'll still be here a little while. Stories aren't short.
Oh, great. I speak with Her Majesty's voice.
Don't panic. Let's see how this plays out.
Welcome home, Your Majesty. Thank you all for bringing our queen home to us unharmed.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
I don't trust him at all. Huh?
General, I have caused you concern. I ask that you look at me.
All of our people prayed for your safe return every day you were away from us. I am truly pleased.
Indeed.
You must be tired from your long journey. Please, rest and refresh yourself.
That's not good.
as if you had the right. At last, I have taken control of Numara and destroyed its weak pacifism. I shall never relinquish my hold on it. Ha, I think I'll see just how immortal our queen really is. Oh, do you see now? Numara is mine.
The people of Numara belong to no one!
Your Majesty?
General, you are such a fool.
Oh, you planned this!
Those who cannot conquer their desires shall never be fit to lead. How pathetic you are.
What? I'll kill you all!
Anyone feel like there was a scene missing there?
Not too smart, eh?
I mean, I kind of get what happened, but it still feels like there should have been a scene in between. All right. Oh. Shit. Okay. So do we want to take out the cannon first? Or try and take out these support tanks? I'm gonna take out the support tanks. We'll get... Crap, I forgot he only has basic white magic. We'll get everyone powered up. We'll do... let's do physical for everybody first. Although, so Seth and Kym already have magic and defense up. So does Sed. Maybe I need to put Sed up front. You know what, we're going to play this differently. Since the front line already has raised defenses, we're going to get all Generata going. It'll give us a heal once it finally activates and then give everyone Regenera. It'll take a little while, but that's okay. Damn, I was hoping for 3. Oh, I didn't think it was gonna rip the MP out like that. Jeez. She absorbed it. It destroyed our card, but she absorbed the damage. That's hilarious. Oh shit, that hurt though. Oh, I may have made a mistake. Yeah, that really hurt Jansen. Okay, we're gonna get Powerus on Kym. We'll use Sed to heal Jansen for now. We'll double item it so that he can heal himself too. Sarah will continue. Oh, Sarah's gonna go before them. Sarah could have healed all of us. Damn. Alright, that attack boost was huge. Alright, well, it was a little bit of a waste of some items, but that's okay. Alright, this will help. We're definitely gonna want to get magic defense up on everybody. Actually, no, I'm glad that's all it did. I'm definitely glad we Yeah, I'm glad we went for the support tanks first, too. Damn. Alright, so that's going to destroy the rest of our guard counter. Oh no! Oh no, it got nullified! Let's go! Okay, so this hopefully won't kill at least. Yeah. Okay. Said we'll be able to survive. Said can take out that one. We'll have Kaim and Seth attack those ones. Jansen will get Powerus on Said. And we'll let Sarah heal Jansen. We'll use an item to make sure it goes first. That's not... Okay, I think that'll be enough to keep him alive. Alright, we got rid of one of the tanks. Alright, so with the Powerus up, we'll be able to get that one done. Shit, I did them in the wrong order, though. Because we're still going to get popped with another magic shot. I had no way of knowing. That must be one of... What do we have? Absorption. We have fire absorption, right? So that... The cannon's attack must be a fire-based magic. So it can't do anything to the Immortals then. Because they all have fire protection now. Alright, we'll let Jansen heal himself this time. We'll have Sarah heal Said. We should take out this other tank this turn. With all three of them powered up. Never mind, Kaim's even going to hit the other one.
I can make this nation stronger than pacifists and cowards like you. I am not finished yet. I will destroy you.
Okay. So without it being able to do its super hits every time now. Fall cannon? Yeah, so it's definitely fire. That's a lot different damage-wise, though. Alright, so with the Regenera on, we don't even need to worry. So we're going to start pelting the cannon now. We'll take the cannon out first. You know I love me a gamble. We'll take the cannon out first just because it is doing group damage. It's not going to matter. Now that we've gotten the other ones, yeah. We're wrecking it now. Give me a good gamble. Yeah, I'll take that. That's a good gamble. Yeah, and this isn't going to do anything, so... Okay, this fight started out a little scary, but it did not end that way, fortunately. No, that didn't do much, though. We're just gonna all-out attack. It's not gonna matter. This thing's dead. Maybe in this hit? Nope. Okay.
Your Majesty, haven't you seen the state of the world? With pacifism as our only policy, we will never be perceived as equal to other nations. In truth, the day is coming soon when we will be forced to capitulate.
Yes, I realized after seeing the world that sometimes power is needed. But General, the power you seek is power only for yourself. That is why it is weak.
Now we got a level up from it. New said weapon, too. Oh, and we learned a bunch of stuff. Okay.
Your Majesty!
Maya.
Oh, you're safe! I'm so sorry we failed to anticipate Kakanas' scheme.
It's not your fault. I was too lenient with him by far. I afforded him the opportunity to run unchecked, and for that, the responsibility is mine.
Don't blame yourself.
He's right. I mean, that general is twisted.
And yet, even he too is another of Gongora's many victims.
Yeah, he does really well by himself.
Your Majesty, may I know the names of your companions?
Oh, yes. Oh, excuse me. I haven't introduced you. These are my loyal ladies-in-waiting. Maya here is my chief lady-in-waiting.
Greetings and welcome to Numara. We are honored.
Maya, these people have become my dear friends and should be treated with the greatest courtesy. We are all working for a common goal, and we have an urgent mission to complete.
A mission? And what of Numara, Your Majesty? Your Majesty?
Until I carry out this mission, I shall have to be away from my people. During that time, I shall entrust Numara to the care of my ladies.
To us, Your Majesty?
Please do as I would. As you have been closest to me, I believe you are capable of what I ask. I shall return as swiftly as possible.
Yes, my queen. While Your Majesty is away, we shall protect Numara. We shall not fail.
Here we go. The Queen's Loneliness. 1,000 years can change everything, including the landscape. Queen Ming surveys her capital from the palace window. The panoramic view is like a great history book. The volcano towering in the distance, which used to spew clouds of smoke, went dormant 700 years ago. Once part of the sea, the inlet was reclaimed 500 years ago to become a village for the fisherfolk who spend their lives on the ocean. The river once arched grandly across the landscape, but the deluge that occurred 300 years ago became the occasion for major flood control construction in the form of a perfectly straight channel. Where the river used to curve, there is now an oxbow lake in which reeds grow in profusion, and the banks provide the people with a rich natural bounty. Even the area that formerly was barren, rock-strewn wasteland became a vast, fruit-bearing garden thanks to the irrigation project that was undertaken 200 years ago. The mountain that was the center of people's religious faith was enveloped in sky-scorching flames 100 years ago. Formerly swathed in the thick green covering and seen as a home of the gods, The towering peak was transformed into a bare rock pile by a forest fire that burned for 3 days and nights. Almost everything that lived in the forest, birds and beasts of course, but many people too, died in the flames. The people in the village below mourned the horrible transformation of their god's abode. But now, 100 years later, the mountain is as green as ever. The people of the village and the people of the mountain still tell the story of the fire, but today's children can hardly imagine that the rich, green slopes were once charred and blackened. Restored though it is to its original green lushness, of course, the mountain could well be enveloped in flames again. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, or even tomorrow. Even if it should be charred bare again, however, trees would sprout anew, the birds and beasts and insects chased away by the fire would return to their homes, and, given enough time, the mountain would be covered in green as before. Such are the workings of nature. Given enough time, dizzying stretches of time. But no. To become dizzy at the thought of vast stretches of time is a privilege of the ordinary folk, those who have no choice but to devote all of their energies to living in the present. How fortunate they are to be able to look back to the past of 1,000 years ago like an old man telling a child a fairy tale. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago. And how truly fortunate one would be to be able to tell the story of this country's future as a rosy dream, the way children relate their own dreams of the future with flashing eyes, and to entrust that dream to the next reign. Ming stands at the window like this every morning. It is a special time of day for her when she thinks about the livelihood of her subjects, watches for signs of enemy intrusions, and ponders measures she might wish to adopt. She has done this every day without fail for the past 1,000 years. The country has flourished. The people no longer starve as they did when she first took the throne. Future historians will no doubt sing the praises of Ming's 1,000-year reign. She will be extolled as the 1,000-year-old queen, and her noble figure will be vividly engraved in people's memories. Cherishing these memories of her, however, people will die before she does. Historians who praise her too, instead of witnessing her reign to its end, will themselves become a part of history. Ming has been queen for the past 1,000 years, and probably will be for the next 1,000 years as well. Her Majesty is in excellent spirits again this morning, I trust. She hears the voice behind her. Her gaze still fixed on the streets of the city below, Ming answers, "You are early today." Not so early if Her Majesty herself is already observing the smoke rising from the cauldrons of her people. She need not turn to ascertain the identity of the smiling face behind her. It belongs to Nagram, her senior minister. The smile is courtly, genial, but deep within the narrowed eyes she knows there resides a dark gleam. Today I will accompany Her Majesty in the inspection of the troops. You? Yes, owing to a slight change in assignments today. Is that so? I am hardly up to the task, but I will do my best if Her Majesty will allow me to serve her in this capacity. I beg her permission. With her back still turned to Nagram, Ming gives a silent nod. Ah, yes, she thinks to herself with a bitter smile. Their plan goes into action today. Ming has sensed for a very long time that Nagram is up to no good. He apparently has seized command of certain units of the Royal Guard. Scattered throughout the city, too, his people are lying low, ready to set fires as soon as his order come down. No doubt about it, today, when the regular ceremonial inspection of the troops is scheduled to take place, is the perfect day for a coup. When Nagram leaves, Ming enters her office and summons Hannes, the most senior of her ministers, a true elder statesman and her most trusted confidant. Hannes, who sports a luxurious beard, has served Ming for over 40 years. Your Majesty, I understand Nagram was here earlier. Yes, apparently he is to accompany me to the inspection of the troops. This is all she has to tell him. Stroking his bushy beard, Hannes says, "That means they've run out of patience." "I know," replies Ming. "I'm sure they can't wait to get started." What a fool Negrim is. He has absolutely no idea that your majesty has been letting him set his own trap. If he were smart enough to realize that, he would be taking at least 2 more years to make his preparations. Then he would have much more power at his disposal. He could link up not just with the Royal Guard, but also the main body of the army and the police force. He could conspire with external enemies and arrange for them to invade just as the ceremonies were getting underway. Then his coup would probably succeed. If he had the long-range vision to include the wealthy merchants and the intelligentista amongst his allies, he might even be able to mount a revolution that would overthrow the monarchy itself. That is what I would do if I were Negrim. As long as I were undertaking a coup, I would think about that much at least. Hannah's smile could not hide the fact that all this talk of successful revolution was making him uncomfortable. Her Majesty is unmatched by any enemy except one, Her Majesty herself. He might be right, Ming thinks. If she had an enemy with an eternal life like hers who was willing to devote all the time needed to planning a revolution, be it a whole century or even 2, the result would surely go beyond revolution and develop into a full-scale civil war. Human lives, however, are limited in duration. And because of this limitation, humans rush to achieve results before they are ready. Negrim is one of them. If he could live 200 years, to say nothing of 1,000, he would not be trying to take up arms against an in-between point in time. Still, says Hannes, I have to admit that Negrim was extended his forces far more successfully than I ever imagined. What would I have been doing all this time? I am utterly ashamed of myself. Don't let it bother you, Hannes. Thanks to your inattention, we will probably be able to smoke out many more rats. Ming gives a satisfied chuckle. Nor is this mere bravado on her part. They chose not to arrest Negrim at an earlier stage, but allowed him to swim free for a while in order to take this opportunity to net the entire force of rebels, both inside and outside the palace. Yes, I know, Hannes replies, and goes on to explain the plan for crushing the coup. His plans are impeccable. The coup has virtually no chance of succeeding. All they need do is carry out a wholesale arrest of the rebel Royal Guard units that rise up in the palace and the partisans lurking in the city, and it will be some time before any more individuals with outsized ambitions show up again. This will be our first purge in 15 years, Hannes remarks. Has it been that long? It certainly has, Your Majesty. This fine beard of mine was jet black last time. Hannes commanded the troops that put down the coup 15 years ago. Loyal, courageous, and cool-headed, he is the ideal staff officer. Without a doubt, he is one of the very best military advisors Ming has had in over 1,000 years on the throne. How selfish of me, Hannes. I should have let you retire years ago. That is out of the question, Your Majesty. Serving you is my life. I am deeply honored to have this final opportunity to be of service. True, not even this superb retainer could be with her through all eternity. In another 5 years, 10 at the most, Hannes, like other loyal retainers of the past, would be laid to rest to the sound of military cannons. It is always like this. Just as the ambitious ones rush to make their mark because they cannot live forever, the loyal ones on whom she can place her complete confidence stake their very lives on serving her because they cannot live forever. They carve their names in a single line of history, and then they depart from Ming for the rest of eternity. Ming herself, though, goes on living. Eternal youth, immortality. So this is the dream of humanity, is it? None of them knows the loneliness of eternal life. When Hannes next addresses Ming, there is new urgency in his voice. About the troops that will quell the uprising. I will command the ones outside the palace. Do I have Her Majesty's permission to put command in the interior palace guards in the hands of my young protege, Jan? Ah, yes, Jan. He may be young, but he is extremely capable. I have nurtured him carefully. I know he will serve Her Majesty splendid after this old soldier is gone. I would like to give him the opportunity to distinguish himself in the current emergency. Ming herself is fully aware of Jan's outstanding qualities. Young as he most certainly is, he far excels the other chamberlains in both civil and military arts. He is undoubtedly the prime candidate to succeed Hannes as Ming's top general. What are Her Majesty's thoughts on the matter? All right then, let him take charge. Her Majesty has my unbounded thanks. I'm sure Jan himself will be deeply moved to learn that he has earned Her Majesty's confidence. Hannes all but prostrates himself before her, an expression of relief on his face at having obtained Ming's permission. But still, he continues, Her Majesty has been wary of Negrum for a very long time. True, she says. Meanwhile, this old soldier of yours had no idea whatever that Negrum might be planning in rebellion. I am deeply ashamed to confess it now, but to me he seemed the very model of loyalty. How is it that Her Majesty was able to see Negrum's actual disloyalty? Ming only smiles without answering his question. The same thing that happened at the time of the coup 15 years ago, Hannes continues. The only reason that we were able to suppress the revolt before it even got started was that Her Majesty saw it coming before anyone else. Then, as now, I was blind to the traitor's plot. If you say so, Hannes. Has Her Majesty forgotten? Well, it was so long ago. Ming tries to evade the issue. There is no way she could have forgotten. The ringleader of the coup 15 years ago was her most trusted retainer. When she first broached the subject to Hannes and the others, warning them to be on guard against the man, all without exception insisted that he, above all, was beyond reproach. In the end, Ming's suspicion proved to be correct. She knew. However faithfully he carried out her orders, however warmly he swore his loyalty, she knew. These days, however, she had begun to wonder on occasion if that is something to be grateful for. The landscape is not the only thing that changes in 1,000 years. People's hearts also change. After numberless meetings and partings over the centuries, Ming has come to realize the fragility and evanescence of trust. She no longer trusts anything in words. Neither can she fully trust everything in action. She knows by looking at a person's eyes, the way she can tell everything to a mysterious and disheartening degree. In the eyes of all those who would bring harm to this country, without exception, there resides a dark gleam. It is there in all of them, the man plotting a coup, the man secretly involved with foreign enemies, the man fattening his purse with heavy taxes wrung from the people, female spy who seduces high ministers to extract state secrets, the man who accepts huge bribes from merchants eager for the glory of becoming an official purveyor to the royal household. Neither their words nor their deeds give them away. Often the man himself has no idea of the misdeeds he will later commit. But Ming can tell. Only Ming, who has lived for 1,000 years. The silent voice tells her, "Be careful of this man. Don't take your eyes off that woman." This was not the case in her youth, but having repeatedly tasted the bitter experience of betrayal, having been assailed by her own regrets and self-reproach, she has learned to doubt. Ming can see what no one else can, that dark gleam deep in the eyes. This has enabled her to ward off a variety of disasters before they could start. The kingdom has managed to flourish because Ming has more often chosen to doubt than to believe. This is the best course for her to follow as a queen. It is, however, an infinitely lonely way to live. Negrum's coup collapses in an instant. The rebel units of the Royal Guard who drew their swords against Ming during the inspection of the troops in the plaza become the prey of Yan and his men, who have been hiding around the perimeter. Meanwhile, the anti-rebel forces under Hannah's command pounce on Nagrum's followers, who have been gathering to set fire to the city, and arrest them without resistance. Poor Nagrum grovels on the earth, begging for his life. To him, Ming says only, "I grant you the right to die with honor." The soldier lays a sword before Nagrum. Wordlessly, Ming conveys to Nagrum that it is time for him to take his own life. What do you mean wordlessly? She spoke. She turns on her heels and returns to the palace under armed escort. This will keep anyone from having thoughts of fomenting a rebellion for a while at least. The peace of the kingdom has been preserved, but it will not last forever. When the memory of Nagrum's coup begins to fade, 10 years from now, or 20, or even 100, another man with ambition will emerge, as has happened so many times before. It is the role of the queen to accept this endlessly repeating cycle, Ming tells herself, sighing. Ming is standing at the palace window, surveying the city streets below, when Yan enters the room. "Your Majesty, I am here to report that Nagrum successfully took his own life a short while ago." "Oh? Did he dispatch himself with dignity?" "He did. Traitor though he was, he died in a way befitting a commanding general. Return his body to his family with all due ceremony." She turns and stares straight at Yan, whose spine stiffens under the onslaught of her gaze. And then she sees it, without a doubt. That dark gleam flashes deep within his eyes for one fleeting instant. So Yan is another one, is he? She thinks with a bitter smile. Unable to fathom the meaning of her smile, Yan is at a loss for words. "Thank you for all your efforts," Ming says to him. Suppressing a sigh, she turns to the window again. The sky stretches overhead in an expanse of blue. The only thing unchanged for the past 1,000 years may be the blue of that sky. But still I am the queen, Ming tells herself, meditating on her role. I am the one who rules this country and maintains the people's happiness. She gazes long and hard at the sky, rising to her full, proud height. "Oh look, it's Queen Ming." A little boy in the alleyway below the castle spots Ming and begins waving at her wildly. "Queen Ming! Queen Ming!" A woman, the boy's mother no doubt, charges out of the doorway and, bowing humbly to Ming, begins scolding the boy for his rude behavior. Ming herself, however, waves back at him, a placid smile on her face. Smiling joyfully at this unexpected response from Her Majesty the Queen, the boy starts jumping up and down, shouting, "Long live Queen Ming! Long live Queen Ming!" Ming stares again at the sky above. Unchanged though it has been for 1,000 years, the blue of the sky penetrates more deeply into her eyes and her heart than it ever did in the days of her youth. I still don't like Ming.
We should take the white boa. The white boa?
If it's a ship you need, we have the Nautilus.
To get through the ice fields, we'll need a ship that can break the ice with its hull. And the white boa can do that.
It's true the Nautilus doesn't have as much strength. She'd probably be no match against the ice. I guess she wouldn't be right for this one.
Oh, I meant no insult to the Nautilus. She has shown unmatched maneuverability. And we shall have need of her again. Please, lend us your help when we need it.
Yeah, sure. Leave it to me.
We should be able to berth the Nautilus inside the white boa. That way we could use either ship when needed.
That's true. I shall go ahead of you to the harbor to give instructions for our departure.
Ming,
What is it?
will you go back? Not to our world, but to your country. You must choose at some point. A 1,000 years is a long time.
There are many important things to be done in this world. Kaim. What will you do?
Alright, I like Ming a little more now. Okay, we're gonna get set up real quick. We know Sed got a new weapon. We need to check our skills. Okay, we have absorb fire. Let's make sure we get that equipped. Okay, we can just put that over fireproof. Does that mean, so all three of them have absorb fire now, right? Absorb fire, absorb fire. No, Sarah just has fireproof. Okay. So we need to remember that. All right, what more do you have? We'll do stand firm because I don't think there's much else. There might be nothing else. Nope. Okay. So we'll just put stand firm on you for now. Sarah. All right, we definitely want to absorb fire on. I think everything else for her now is just getting stuff there. Actually, crisis concentration for her could be good. Okay. Then we need to change our skill links. We'll get her on some quick ones with Sed. We'll just stick with the big ones on Sed for them. Okay. Oh, and you know what? We'll rest here too before we end. Yeah, again, sorry for the short episode. Camera seems to be working again, so I'm hoping this was just kind of one-off glitch. I'll play around with it some more and try and see if I can reproduce it. But yeah, that'll be it for this week. And hopefully all my stuff's not scuffed, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. If you liked that video, go ahead and subscribe. If you didn't, please email me and tell me why.